Fairly sure that's not doing a whole lot right now.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Auto Anatomy. I am Sean. It has been way too long since we've had a video. Now, that has entirely been my fault because I've had kind of some other things going on in my life. One, I took off some time from working on cars to train for and race in a half Ironman. Triathlon's kind of my other passion. And two, with the Corvair, I really thought that we were going to sell the car after the last video. For reasons that I didn't really understand at the time, I was feeling really conflicted about putting the car up for sale. I mean, I wanted to sell it, but I wasn't really excited about listing it for sale. So I kind of dragged my feet a little bit, and I think there's two reasons for that. One, there were some just nagging little things about the car that I just didn't want to have it leave with my name attached to it that way. Things like rear suspension bushings and, you know, the U-joints need to be replaced, stuff like that. And two, I really love driving this car. So I figured I might as well fix some of those things that have been nagging me all along, enjoy driving it, take you guys along with me, and just have fun with this Corvair while we have it. If you are not subscribed to the YouTube channel, please take 2 seconds, click on that subscribe button, hit the bell to be notified when new videos come out. It's an absolutely free way to help support this channel, and it really makes a big difference. So in today's video, we're going to replace the rear suspension bushings. More specifically, we're going to replace the entire strut arms that run laterally that support the rear end side to side. There's a lot of different ways that you can do it, but I'm going to show you a budget way that can upgrade your suspension without breaking the bank. Let's get started.
So you can see this is the old bushing. Fairly sure that's not doing a whole lot right now. So the way we're going to take this thing out, since I've got to make some adapter spacers anyway, I'm going to take the entire bracket off, and that'll let me just measure this and then clean it up a little bit. So it's a 9/16 here. I think it's an 11/16 or 13/16 here, and then we'll just take off the one nut on the other side and pull these arms out.
All right, let's get these off. I've got a jack supporting this arm. It shouldn't come out too far because on these cars, the drive shaft, you know, basically is the upper link of the swing arm here. But just for giggles. Now, originally the camber was controlled by an eccentric on this bolt out here, but we're not going to reuse that function because our arms are adjustable. So it doesn't really matter where we're going to put this back in place now. Now, initially I thought I would just replace the bushings with, you know, the replacements from Clark's Corvair, and this isn't a knock on Clark's at all, but they're pretty hard to replace. You've got an outer shell and then an inner sleeve and then the bolt that goes through that. So in order to replace them, you've got to press out or torch out the old bushings, press out the inner sleeve, lube this up, press it in, then press in the inner sleeve, and then put new bolts in it. Now that's all assuming that, you know, you can get the old bolt out of the inner sleeve, that you can press the bushings out, that, you know, there's a lot of things that go along with it. And in doing some research, it looks like there's a lot better option out there for it. So I picked these up. These are strut rods for a C4 Corvette. And I picked these up from Mid-America Corvette, and I think they were maybe 150 bucks for the pair, but they are adjustable, come with all new bushings, like hydrometer. I think they're urethane bushings, pre-assembled, and all we're gonna need to do is just make a little spacer to go on one end to space this out side to side, and these will be a direct replacement, easy upgrade that is adjustable.
Okay, back on the bench you can really see the problem. So here is all of our bushing. It has squeezed out to this side with none on this side. I mean, you can put your finger half-inch down in that hole. Comparing the old rod to the new one, you can see there's a little bit of a gap that we just need to make a spacer for. And then on this end, on the wheel end, it's definitely a good bit wider. So if I line them up here, you can see I've got about 3/4 of an inch that I need to make up. So what we're going to do is I picked up this aluminum bar stock, and it's, I think, 1.25 inches, and we will just cut this off, drill it, and use this to make our spacer to fill the gap. So first things first, I need to clean this up because this looks horrible. Okay, yeah, that really wasn't doing much at all. All right, now that I've got the bracket all cleaned up and painted, it's time to measure and see how big of a spacer we're going to need. So I'll just zero my mic here, and this doesn't have to be, you know, machinist level precision. Okay, so that's 2.67. Actually, you know what? There is a lot easier way to do this. We'll put these washers in, measure this, that's 1.82. Okay, and then we'll zero it, and then go out to here. There we go, 850. So we need 850 thousandths spacer to go in between the old bracket and the new arms. And I'm just going to hold it up to the car and see if it needs to be offset to one side, or if we have to split that into two separate bushings to try and center it in that bracket. My gut feeling is that this is going to have to be split into two so that it can center in this bracket, but we'll take a look. Okay, so I just put this up in here just to see, and yeah, in order to get this rod pretty much as straight in line with the drive shaft, which is where the original was, I'm going to have to offset the insides just pretty much even, and then on the outside, see if I can get you a video here, it needs to be as far rearward as I can. So I need to measure this distance, make a spacer for here, and then on the inside we'll make two 425 thousandth spacers, drill a 1/2 inch hole in between, and get these bolted up. Now these are the times when I really wish that I had a lathe, but I don't, so this is what I use. Got one mounted, so you can see we've got our aluminum spacers on each side here, and on the outside we've got our 850 spacer on the front side of the arm. So when you're installing the lower control arm, the most important thing is that the eccentric is the same on both sides, and I'm going to put it to where the eccentric pushes the arm further lateral or towards the outside of the car, predominantly because with a longer arm, the amount of camber change is going to be lessened as it goes through its suspension arc. So if we have the arm longer, then the tire should stay in contact with the road a little bit better. So it doesn't matter which way you put it, either shorter or longer, as long as it's the same on both sides.
minutes, the driver's side one is out, and although it's better than the passenger side, yeah, it still sucks. So let's get this apart, get it cleaned up, or at least get the bracket cleaned up, and then start putting the new ones on. Yeah, that wasn't doing a whole lot for lateral control of that arm. Okay, so I got the driver's side arm on here, and I haven't tightened down the pivot bolts yet. I'm going to wait until it gets on the ground before completely tightening it down. Now these do hang down just slightly more than the originals, because the original arms are straight and they come out and then they drop down right at the hub, but honestly I don't think it's going to make that much of a difference. So let's get this thing in the ground, torque the nuts in place, and then we can adjust the camber and then go take it for a test drive. All right, we are now sitting on the ground again. I went ahead and tightened the bolts down, but you can see hopefully that the tire is not exactly aligned. It is way positive camber, probably 6 or 8 degrees. And I think it's that way. Well, that one's actually not as bad. But what we're gonna use is, I've got a pretty inexpensive caster camber gauge. It's magnetic, and it'll just sit right on the axle flange, and we will lengthen or shorten that rod, that new control rod, until we get, you know, whatever the factory specs are. And I need to go look that up, but we're almost done. So we'll plop this guy on here and just make sure it's sitting flat. And yeah, it's greater than 6 degrees of positive camber. So we need to lengthen this arm a good bit in order to bring the top of this tire in. Actually, it just brings the bottom of the tire out. Okay, looking in the manual here, it says for our rear suspension, the total rear camber should be -1 to 0 degrees. So right now, we are about 3 degrees positive, or negative. So let me shorten this rod up just a little bit. So what I found is that taking some weight off of the arm here, letting the tire dangle just a little bit, you can turn this by hand and then just have to set it back down, bounce the suspension a couple of times, and do it again. After about 30 tries, we are on -1 degree of camber. So this side is done. I'm gonna lock down the jam nuts and we'll go to the other side. All right, so we're taking it out on the road. First impressions are, I cannot believe how much quieter the rear suspension is. Actually, I can believe it because you saw the bushings. It's remarkable how, I mean, the steering is nice and tight. The rear end feels like it's actually working. The suspension is nice and solid. It actually, it's a little weird. It oversteers a little bit compared to what it did before. I guess that's just the suspension working now. It feels so much more planted than it did before, and you know, this was, oh, and there's some bumps. You know, this was a very budget upgrade. The arms themselves were about $140, I think. I got these from Mid-America Corvette Parts, and I'll put a link in the description below where you can pick them up. I think suspension upgrades are one of those things that people don't think about doing all that often, but they make such a big improvement in the way the car feels. It really makes you want to go out and drive the car a little bit. We have got more upgrades coming on the Corvair. We are going to replace the rear U-joints, not because there's anything wrong with them, but because they're original, and or at least as they were when I got the car. And considering they're kind of the upper link of the control arm or of the rear suspension, just for peace of mind, I want to change those out. We're going to do a complete ignition system upgrade, as well as doing some rust repair, some more suspension work, and don't forget, we have a very special surprise involving the car coming up. I've not forgotten, and you know who you are. Thank you so much for watching. If this is the first time on our channel, thank you for coming. It's usually not this long between videos, so I will do better to try and put out some more content on the Corvair. Don't forget to hit that like, share, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when new videos come out. Thanks for watching. God bless. We will see you very soon.